What's going on, everybody? How you all doing tonight? Welcome to another episode of A Father's Authority. I'm your host, Nate Holloway. And for those of you who are just tuning in for the first time, A Father's Authority is a part of Kingdom Relationships. And what we're here for is our goal is to change the narrative on fatherhood, to start getting fathers thinking about their children, coming back in the lives of their children, and staying in the lives of their children, helping new fathers become great fathers and helping great fathers become even greater fathers. And we do this each week by bringing in another father that we know to interview and to get their take on fatherhood and allow them to tell us, because I'm learning too, how they became the fathers that they are. And tonight we're doing this episode with a good friend of mine. I grew up with this guy. I think we were probably like in our early child years before teenagers when we met. We went to the same church together for a while, and I've watched him over the years with his children. I joke him all the time because he has children that's older. He just became a grandfather, and I got a 6 year old. So I laugh because we were the same age, and we see how life is different. But for those of you watching, I hope you enjoy it tonight. I know you will get something from it. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on my man, Dr. Shawn Nicholson. What's up, Shawn?
Hey, what's happening, my brother? What's
Nothing
happening?
much, man. So glad to have you on tonight, man. Thank you for allowing me to interview. I was telling the people, how far back we go. Kind of dated us a little bit. I didn't tell our age, but
Yeah, you keep reminding me.
to how far back
Yeah.
we go, that you just became a grandfather, you got grown
Mhm.
kids, and I got a 6 year old. So but I got somebody to learn from, somebody who to look out for and go to advice about what I got to expect. But man, I'm so glad to have you on for me tonight. I've watched you over the
Thank you.
years with your kids. I see how great of a father you are. I see how you raise your kids, and I saw how your father raised you
Mhm.
all when we were coming up. And even though I didn't have my father, your father was one of those men who disciplined me, and spoke into my life as well. But I watched him and how he raised you and your sister, as you guys got older, and I see the fruit of his teaching and his fatherhood in your
Mhm.
life with your kids. But enough of me talking. Tell the people about Shawn Nicholson and give them a little bit about who you are.
Oh man. Wow. I'm just enjoying um, just life right now is the best way to for me to say it. Even with the obstacles, the challenges, some of the disappointments that's happening, I know where my faith is, and it just allows me to just enjoy life right now. So I think I'm living a pretty abundant life. I am definitely excited to be. A part of their father's authority. You're doing a wonderful job, and you said you've been watching me, but we've been watching you as well. And I just get excited every time I hear you talk about your son and the things that you do. And I'm telling you, man, you love that little boy. Yeah,
Yes,
which
I
is
do.
which is great. I mean, it is really great. And I think we had a conversation not too long ago. I glean and learn even from you. My daughters are older, 28 and 24, but it's still so much to learn because we never stop being a father.
Right.
It's a continual journey. And I made several mistakes, still make mistakes, still trying to repair some old wounds and stuff. But it's just that persistence, I think, and then being able to be there makes the difference. So again, kudos to you and to this and to all those that were listening.
Thanks, man. Thanks. So you just you're a father, you're a husband, you're a businessman, you're a pastor, you're a construction worker, but
Yeah.
you
Uh,
do a lot, man, in our conversations. You're very successful in what you do, and you have two daughters, you said, and age 28 and 24, and you're married to your wife. How long you guys been married?
28.
28 years. Man, 28. You got married. How old were you when you got married?
Too young.
Too young. Trying to give him till his age, yo. He won't do it. He didn't fall for it.
No.
Ah,
Hey, listen, I'm good, man. Look, I'll be 50 years old in April, so I'm loving it, man. I'm good. But yeah, we got married really young. 21 and 20. Yeah, 21 and 20. So
okay.
yeah, yeah.
So let
But
me
but
ask you, when you got married, how old were you when you had your first daughter?
21 and 20.
21. I ain't waste no time.
We got married, and 10 days later, Jared was here. So,
Oh wow.
yeah, so
Okay.
we went right into it. And then 4 years later, Shanice came along, and that sealed it right there. I wanted a boy. I wanted a girl first, Nate.
Wow.
Because I definitely wanted a girl first, because I knew how I was. And I was like, I ain't no anywhere I can deal with no hard head right now, because I'm just getting into this fatherhood thing, and this ain't gonna go over too good. That
Oh
is what was in
wow.
my mind. So having a daughter first, I'm gonna tell you, man, it was one of the best things that ever happened. I mean, she totally changed my life. I mean, the whole trajectory of my life changed upon her birth. And
Mm,
I'm very vocal. I let her know. I mean, whoever I talk to, they know that, you know. And we made some mistakes. We tried to repair them with the second child, and we did. But we made some mistakes with the second child, and I'm sure if we had a third child, we would have made some mistakes with that one. You know what I'm saying? So
mhm.
it's just a thing that you learn. It's unfortunately trial and error. But the important thing is not to repeat the mistakes. And now, like I said, I wanted a boy. We couldn't get one, so I was content. And then now the Lord blessed us with a grandson. So it's on now, man. I'm ready.
So you
Yeah,
ready. And so
yeah.
having children that young, how
hmm
was the journey?
So I'm gonna tell you like this. When Karen and I, um, we were just feeling out stuff. I mean, we were feeling out life, feeling out this marriage, feeling out um, being parents, feeling out everything, because we were still literally kids. I mean, although we were 20, 21, 21, 22 rather, we still were kids, man. And you know what I'm saying? We didn't have a lot of stuff established. I told you we had 10 days together before our daughter was born. And so
Wow.
that was it. So it's definitely was a journey. But one thing I will say, that well, two things: we kept God first. That was the main thing. God was definitely the center, and we never would have accomplished a third of what we accomplished if we didn't do that. And secondly, we understood that they were priority. That the kids were priority, and so everything that we did was for them. Period. Even if we
Mm,
had to go without, even if we had to struggle, sacrifice, those kids had whatever they needed, whenever they needed it. You know what I'm saying? So they were definitely priority.
got you, got you.
hmm
So you learned, you made the kids priority. You guys had 10 days to get together. And what I love about that is you guys were young when you had your children and you learned and you went through the struggles and everything. I was 42 when
Okay.
um when Caleb was born, and I still went through. So it's like what you realize, it doesn't matter how old you are as a new
No.
parent, you're going to go through those things because it's learning processes as parents. And as fathers, we don't know it. We're still, like you said something key. You said we're always learning and that you're
hmm
still learning. And as
Yeah.
fathers, we're always learning because our kids go through stages. They get older. They go through, like my son now, he'll be 7 in April.
hmm
And from 6 to 7, he's totally different. From five
hmm
to now to about to be 7, his thinking has changed, his conversations change. His his analyzation, if that's a word, it's a word tonight, of things changed. He said something to me. We were out of town this weekend. We were driving, and he said, "Daddy, when am I gonna be able to ride without my booster seat? Can I?" I said, "Well, I don't know, son. I don't think mommy is ready for that." He said, "Daddy, are you ready for it?" I said, I don't know. I think so. He said, "Daddy, it's either you know or you don't. You can't think about it." He says, "Either you know," and I was like,
Nice.
"Yeah." He's like, "It's either you know or you don't." And I'm like, "But he's right though. It's either
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know I
yeah.
want I'm ready for it, and I know I'm not ready for it. I'm not ready for you to be out of the booster seat." But
Yeah.
to really, I was just like, I think so. It was like, no, it's either you know. So to see him talking to me like that in his conversation as he gets older, I have to learn now that I have to deal with him a different way. That's a
Hmm.
learning process. I have to be detailed. He's like his mother. I have to give him details. I have to explain things to him. Where
Hmm.
some children you can be like, no, it's no because that's what I said. It's like okay.
Hmm.
He'll be like, well, daddy, that makes no sense. That's why I can't do it. And I'm just like, it's because I said so. But and he does to me now what I do to him. He's like, well, because I said so, it's not an answer, daddy. And and as fathers, we're learning, and
Yeah.
we don't know it all, and we can't use, especially this generation growing up, we can't use
No.
because I said so with them anymore because their minds and their brains. I think, and I said all to say, as fathers, as parents, no matter how old you are, you're learning. No matter when you have kids, you're learning. There's a
Yeah.
process of there's a process of learning. There's a process of being a dad. There's a process of things that you have to do with your children. You have to learn how to discipline them. You can't discipline every child the same. You
Yeah.
have to learn how to console them. You can't console every child the same. So it's a
Yeah.
different
Definitely.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. I agree with that. And, I still revert to the fact that it's trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. And you try not to make as many errors, during the trial, but
Right.
it's still trial and error. I often think about my dad, um, you know, coming up. I mean, we would look at him as being like a disciplinarian and things like that. We didn't really understand. We didn't know what fathers were supposed to do other than love us. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? But then as I got older, my grandfather passed when my dad was 13. You see, when he was 13, so I never even met him. And I was 8 when my mother's father passed. But that knowing that whatever they got from their fathers stopped right there. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
anything that my dad learned from his father stopped at age 13. And then so he had to build and learn a whole life and live a whole life, with that 13 years of
Mm-hmm.
deposits, that was in there. And thank
Mm.
God,
That's good.
grandma was amazing, so she made it happen, 7 kids. But at the same time, that's what they had was just whatever was deposited into him for those 13 years. And that made him the father that he was or is with me. And although some things I didn't like, some things I probably still don't like, but at the same time, it's what's made me the father than I am. And so, we try to do things different on our end, and but still have a lot of those um, attributes as well. Hmm.
Yeah. And you said something that I love. You said he lived off of 13 years of
Yeah,
deposits.
yeah.
We're going to go into the words of father later, but 13 years of deposits from his father. That
Hmm.
shows you how important a father
Yes.
is in a child's life because you
Yep.
can say something to your child, teach your child, and deposit things, wisdom into your child that they will carry
Yeah.
through the rest of their life. And they may not have any other deposits from you from that point on, but they take what you deposited into, whether good or bad,
Absolutely.
and they
Absolutely.
reproduce that in their
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. That's real. That's
Yeah.
real. And the same, same with me. I mean, my daughters, our daughters have always had me, if you will, around, but there's still some things that I fell short on, but being able to instill in them certain principles that I know that they're going to need later on. Those are the things that you really have to focus on, because they're at that, when they're younger, they're at that age that they're like sponges, man. They're just taking and saturating everything,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very important that we leave a lasting impression. I'll just say this, like my daughter now with our grandson. I'm constant. Matter of fact, I told her a little while ago. I said, "All right, you gotta read to him. You gotta read to him. You gotta read to him." So I'm like already putting that in him. Just read. You're sitting
Mm-hmm.
there with him, you holding him or whatever. Get the book out. Read. If you want to download a book and read it, read it. Just start pouring into him now. He's 1 month old. Just start
Yeah.
just pour into him, pour into him, pour into him. It means a lot. And you'll see the fruits of that as they get older.
Yeah, and you will, man, and that's important that's doing that, because as you deposit in your children from a young age, they will start to see that. Like I deposit into my son that he is great and he can do anything, and he takes that now, and it's like
Hmm.
he hates to fail, he hates to not do anything perfectly, and it's like he knows that there's greatness in him, and he knows it great. Because I'm like, Kev, you're great, don't you? Of course I do, Daddy. you
Yeah,
know and
yeah,
stuff like that. And so it's important that we start at a young age and
yeah,
deposit those things into. Now, I didn't have a father growing up at a young age depositing things in me, but my grandfather, who was never really a man of words to deposit into you, but he had action. I saw my grandfather be an entrepreneur. So my grandfather always had a business. He was always building something. He was a contractor, always building, always building. So that showed me entrepreneur. That showed me getting out there, always working, getting it done. But my mother would say things to me like, "Don't ever say you can't. Don't use the
yeah,
word can't in the house."
yeah,
So it was a deposit. But I deposit things in my son, and I start at a young age because I don't want him to have to go through what I went through of 40 years of looking for affirmation, of
it
a
me
father.
it means a lot, and you never know where it's going to come up. You know what I'm saying? It's like let me share this. A few things my dad used to do, and I mean I couldn't stand it. I mean I couldn't stand. Hey, Dad, how you spell authority? you know, get the dictionary and look it up. I'm like, you can't just tell me how to spell it. How do you spell it? And that's one thing. But I learned through that how to look up words, how to have the pronunciation of words, all of these other things, right? And as time progressed on, I've grew into loving words and understanding words and being able to use words, and never knew back then when all those dictionaries and I'm thumbing through trying to find all that stuff, it was building me to be like an author now, in writing
Mhm.
and stuff. I never knew that was going to be the end result of it, being subject
That's
verb,
good.
structure and stuff. I used to hate doing it, but they even said this is the importance of doing it. I mean, it's like when you start thinking of all the small things, or the minor things that we felt then, is just major impact in our lives, and that's what I attempted to do, with our girls, definitely, to just instill these little nuggets that will be with them lasting. I mean, I'm almost 50 years old, Dad's 72, and I still remember those things.
Because we gonna remember, because a father's words go into the life of his children. They
Absolutely.
follow the children. When you're speaking to your children, what you speak in them, it follows them throughout, especially when you're consistent.
Yeah,
Especially,
yeah,
man,
yeah.
we almost got into um my okay.
Got all
Let's
script.
yeah, we're gonna get back to that, because I don't want to, because this topic is so important. Man, what does fatherhood mean to you, Shawn?
Ooh. um well, I'm going, if I can use it in a non-gender specific connotation, if you will, it would be just a steward, a good steward over what the miracle that God has blessed you with.
That's good.
Just a good steward over the miracle. I mean, because children are miracles, just miracles from God, man. I mean, it's just an amazing thing, and for God to entrust us,
Yes.
to be able to have a child, a live human being to be responsible for. Man, it's just wow. It's just an amazing thing, man. So just being a good steward over the miracle that God has blessed us with, man. And like I said, I tend to use the non-gender specific, explanation, but also by being a male and being able to to be that role model, that example, that life source,
Mhm.
for that child, whether it's a boy or a girl,
Yes, man. I like how you said being a good steward over it. I've never had anyone say it like that. Because when you're a good steward over something, you take care of it,
you
you
value it.
nurture it,
Yeah.
you
Hmm.
value it, you make
Hmm.
sure it's better than when it was given to you. And that's how we are as fathers. We have to take our children, and because we're the head, we're the leader, we're the spiritual leader, we're the financial leader, we're the emotional leader, we're the physical leader, we're the we're the wisdom leader. We're that deposit for them. We're that warehouse of life nuggets, if I could say, for them. So we have to steward that. We have to steward, make sure we're putting the right words in them. Make sure we're not breaking their spirits. Make sure that they're learning how to navigate life even at a young age. Learn how to make sure they're strong and not weak. I have to do that with my son because I spoiled him, still kind of do. But I really spoiled him in the beginning, and because I felt like if I didn't, he was gonna feel neglected like I did from my
Mm.
father,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I didn't want him to feel what I felt, so I
Okay.
felt like I had to overcompensate for what I didn't have. But I learned from my wife, and mentors of mine that I can't do that because I'm spoiling him. So I
Hmm.
had to learn how to not spoil, how to set boundaries with him. But now I have to learn how to nurture his gifts,
Yeah.
nurture his words, nurture his actions, nurture what he says, how he is in school, and even with discipline, I have to steward that, and being a good steward as a father over what God said. I always say I get to be his father. You know,
Okay.
I don't feel
Yeah.
like I have to be his father. I get to be his father,
Yeah.
and so I I I have the opportunity to steward this human being into a successful man,
Yeah.
and to
Hmm.
into a successful human being, even at a young age, to teach him how to be a
Hmm.
leader and not a follower, and those things. And when God gives us that, it's like He's given us something, a treasure
Yeah.
for us
Yeah.
to steward and grow, and
Yeah.
because we're responsible for them. How our kids turn
Absolutely.
out, you know, it depends on what we put in them. Now we could put in them, and sometimes you can put in a child, and they still go a different way. They may get um, connected with the wrong folk and get experience something and go a different way. But I still believe that it goes back to what you're teaching them,
No, I
because
agree. I'm a
when you
witness
get
of that.
when they get off track, they're gonna hear your words. Like I didn't have my father, but I had Bishop Moore, you
Okay.
know, who was a father to me. So every time I got off track, I heard his words.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I heard his words in my ear saying, "That's what we're doing. That get
Hmm.
yourself in somebody at church and get to work." You
Yeah.
know, don't be hanging. So those things, and our kids see that when we're good stewards, we know that they're going to hear our words when they're going through life.
No, that's good. You said a couple of things actually that kind of stood out for me because you were saying that when your father wasn't around, so you were intentional on not repeating the things
Yeah,
that that he did. So that tells me that as fathers, unfortunately, we bring some baggage with us. We
Yeah.
bring some trauma, we bring some challenges, some hurts, and everything else. And that's why it's so important to have. And here's the second point: you mentioned your wife. I can't take credit at all, 100% credit for our girls because of it had to be done in tandem with the way that they came, the way that they are now. It was done in tandem with
Mm.
their mother, with Karen. Definitely, there's absolutely no way that I can take 100% credit of that. And to hear you say that, that's absolutely true because they have a way of balancing even us,
Yes.
so that we make
Yes.
sure that we're not, as you stated, overcompensating. That you're being able to give them a well balanced experience during their adolescent years and on. So those are just some powerful things. And even as your listeners are listening to this, it takes community. You know what I mean? It maybe mom and dad ain't together, but it's
Mhm.
still community. You know what I'm saying? It's still making sure that we, as the older saints used to say, rear the child up, in a certain way,
Mhm.
because that's what's going to count. That's what's going to count. So yeah, that's a good point, man. That's right on it.
Yeah, and even those who you're not with, if they're not with the baby's mother, then
Hmm.
them two have to learn how to work in tandem.
Got to
They have
co-parent
to learn how
together.
to
Yeah,
work,
yeah,
how to co-parent, and they have to learn how to, even if they hate each other, they got to find a way to
yeah.
come together for a child, because those children are going to see that. And what does that do? That creates a cycle of young men growing up and making
Hmm.
babies and leaving, or
Yep.
hating a baby mama. Young girls growing up seeing men as somebody who's just gonna be in and be out, and
Yeah.
so that it's something that we have to do. That whether we're married, whether we're single, you single parents, if you don't have
Hmm.
the child's father or child's mother, then like you said, the key word community. You
Community.
get that
Yeah.
community to help you raise your child. My mother had a community to help raise me. There were
Yeah.
men, God bless you, with mentors for every milestone in my life. So my mom
Awesome.
didn't have to do it on her own. Even though
Yeah.
physically at home it was on her own, but she had a community of men who would come and get me, and take me out. We, selling donuts on Saturdays. But
Don't
have
remind me.
right, have me out, and speaking into me. I remember the first time I used to call my mom by her first name, and she let me do it. It's called Joanne. I think until I was probably about 9, 8 or 9, I think it was. And a friend of my mother's, I don't even remember who this guy was. I think I only saw this guy that one time. And I think that probably was time for him. He was supposed to have been there. And he heard me call her Joanne. He said, "What you say to her?" I said, "Joanne." Yo, he took me in the back. He whipped my behind.
Oh
He said,
wow.
"Don't you ever call your mother by her first name again. That's disrespecting her." From that day forward, I never called my mom by her first name.
Wow.
Never, because and I've never I after that I never seen the dude after that ever again.
Wow.
But he
Isn't
whipped
that
my
some
behind and he said, "Don't you ever disrespect your mother like that and call her by her first name." But see, that was a deposit
sure.
in my
Yeah.
life. I don't know this guy. I've never seen him again. But he
Mm.
was there to teach me how to respect my mother and how to respect women.
Yeah. Yeah. The
So
value of
it
community,
hurt.
man.
The
Yeah.
lesson hurt, but but it was a lesson because I never disrespect my mother again. Because I didn't realize that I was disrespecting my mother by calling her by her first name.
Yeah,
She
that's big,
allowed me to
man.
do it. So
Hmm.
that's the thing. So we gotta know that's the community. Community.
Hmm.
We gotta allow our community that we trust to do those things for us to help us with our kids, even if it comes to discipline. We
That's
have
right.
to allow them. Now we can set boundaries on how you discipline them,
Sure.
but we gotta be able to let them discipline. So, what's
That's
the
good.
best part of being a father?
Oh wow. The best part to witness everything that you have instilled in that child, and they're doing it on their own.
Mm,
Like for instance, we teach our children how to ride a bike, right? We buy the bike, we have the training wheels on them, and right when they get to a point that they're ready to get rid of the training wheels, we don't take them all the way off, maybe pull them up a little bit, but we guide them and we stay behind them and we allow them to get into their own element, but we're still right there, cheering them on, coaching them on. But then finally, we're able to let them go and just to sit back and watch them go down the road without you. It's the same type of feeling.
mm.
That's the joy to me. That's the joy to see that you stepped by them, you were able to deposit, as I mentioned, you were able to do these things with them, and now they're gone away and they're on their own and they're doing a wonderful job. That's the joy. That's the greatest part for me to see them in their own elements.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. But you said something that helped me tonight because I'm in that learning stage again as father. I'm trying to teach my son how to ride his bike without training wheels. And it is the hardest thing to do. And but you said something. She said lift the training wheels up a bit. Don't take them all the
Mhm.
way off.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what I'm bringing them back, or I'm lifting them up.
Whichever way it is, it comes up to like away from the front. So yeah, to the back. Because what you're doing, it's still there, and he knows it's there. It's all psychological. He knows that it's there, because they're there. He can see them. It's
Uh-huh.
different from just taking them away all the now. Now this is a whole. It's a whole change now. What am I supposed to do? But to just see them still right there, it just does something to him psychologically.
Oh, so don't take them off. Just adjust them to
Just
where if he
adjust
if,
them.
if he lean over, the training will still hit the ground.
And see, the thing is, he knows that. He knows that if it goes over, he's going to be it's going to catch him, right? But
Uh-huh.
he'll get to the point that he'll have the confidence, and he'll make sure that now I got to stay balanced enough so it don't fall over. And by the time you finish, he ain't gonna need them. Yeah.
Man, thank you for that. I'm gonna do that. I've been on YouTube. How to train your child how to ride his bike in 5 minutes. Train your child to ride
Uh,
the bike in 45 minutes. And I'm just like, okay, them kids already know how to ride the bike. I see what y'all doing. All right, but I'm gonna use that. Thanks, man.
yeah.
Wow, that's it. Okay, see, I'm learning. Still learning. So let me ask you, Shawn. This goes back into the beginning of our conversation. I had to shift it a little bit.
Excuse
We
me.
can get to
Mhm.
this. How important are a father's words to his children?
Oh, very, very important. They're lasting. I mean, it's we can go to scripture for this. I mean, it's words are powerful. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. And when we speak out words, it goes into the atmosphere, and it can make or break them. We used to have a thing when we were kids that people used to chant. Sticks and stones may break
Mhm.
my bones, but words would never hurt me. That's the biggest lie that has ever been told.
Right.
I'd rather have the sticks and stones, bro, than to have people, saying the words, because words are damaging. You cannot pull that word back. I don't care how many times you apologize, how many times you try to, make up for it. Once that word goes out, it's gone, and that's the value of words. So if we're going to have that much value and that much power over our tongue or over our words, the things that we speak into our children, it has to be all positive. It has
Yeah.
to be affirmation. It has to be something that's going to build them up and not tear them down, because the world's going to do enough of that as it is.
Yep.
So they don't need to hear it from us, especially from us. See, fathers have a way. It's just their presence, man. It's just being able. And I'm a girl dad. You know what I'm saying? So I have girls and well young women now, but it's a lot of times I didn't even have to do anything. It was just what I said, or it was just my actions of being there, because it's just the presence of that father. And I think sometimes we take that for granted, and we don't value that. But they look for that. Mom can tell them whatever they can, whatever she wants, and it go in one ear and come out the other, But dad come and say it. It's like law, you know what I mean? This is what it is, and they value. So words are very powerful, man. Very
Yeah.
powerful.
And I know that my son hangs on my every word, man. If I tell him something, if I tell him this is it or this way I'm gonna do it, then he does it. He even tell people, well, my daddy said so. We were here for Christmas, and no, it was Thanksgiving. We was watching Macy's Thanksgiving parade, and his cousin was here, and Santa Claus came down, and my mother said, "Hey guys, Santa Claus on TV." And his cousin came down and said, "Santa Claus said," he came right down step. "Santa's not real. Santa's not real. It's your parents that buy you a gift." There was a white step because my dad said so. Threw me under the bus.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's things like that where when I tell him something, he takes it as law. It's like I
Mhm.
told him I've been teaching him to be a man of his word. And um it was one day, it snowed here. It was a Saturday, and I told him, he said, "Dad, can we go outside?" I said, "We'll go outside at 12 o'clock. Dad's got some work to do in his office. We go outside at 12 o'clock." So he said, "Okay." So he said, "Alexa, set timer for 12 o'clock." I said, "Alexa." So at 12 o'clock, Alexa went off. He said, "Daddy, it's 12 o'clock." I said, "I know, son. Give Daddy 5 minutes. I got to finish." He already has clothes and everything. I said, "I got to finish this. Give me 5 minutes." He said, "Dad, you told me you have to be a man of your word. You said 12 o'clock. It's 12 o'clock. You're not being a man of your word." I was like,
What do
"Shut the
you say,
computer
right?
off. Yeah,
Yeah,
let,
yeah.
let me go put my clothes on." But see, but he's taking that in our words, because we know in the Bible, a father's words in the Old Testament meant everything to those kids. If the father said you were going to be a carpenter, you were a carpenter. If he said you were going to be a jokester, you were a jokester. If he said you were going to be a physician, you were a physician. They went in a route that their father said that they
Mhm.
were going to go. And so that's important. And those words went with them. The
Yep.
words of a father went with them. You look at everything in the world today, how people operate starts with what their father says to them,
Mm.
and you look at that. And so the words of a father are important because they go into the life, like I said earlier, they go into the life of the children, they follow the children to life, they shape the direction of their life. If you tell your daughters you ain't nothing, you ain't
Mhm.
gonna be nothing, you worthless, then they're gonna
Yeah.
grow up thinking they're worthless, they're not gonna be anything. If you yell at your daughters all the time and talk to them, then they're gonna grow up allowing a man to talk to them, because it's how my dad talked to me.
Mhm.
If I tell my son, you ain't you weak, you stupid, you ain't gonna be nothing, blah blah blah. First, if I say you stupid, he gonna say potty word, daddy.
Mhm.
But if I tell him, then he's gonna grow up thinking that, and I can say it because I give this testimony all the time. I'm an example, because most of my life I grew up with people telling me I was lazy, I won't gonna be
Mhm.
nothing, I was slow. You're lazy, you're slow, you're not gonna be anything. You're lazy, you're slow, you're not gonna be anything. And tell other people he's lazy, he's slow, not gonna be anything. And I grew up as a grown man,
Mhm.
mm, into my adulthood, getting those words out of me.
Mm.
And sometimes those words try to come back. I had someone from back in the day say to me one time, um, told me how great of a father and husband I was, but they said, "Who would have thought you would be?" And I was like, even though
That's a
she
back.
meant well,
That's a
because
backhanded compliment.
yeah, that's how they thought back then. But she said, "Who would have thought you?" So I mean, you didn't think. What did you think of me when I was younger? So in those things, so your words to me said what you thought. And so those words get in you. And I had to fight my life, fight those words. And certain words played in my mind that kept me from being what I know God called me to be, to kept me from being successful. Because every time you get to a certain point, you hear those words.
Yeah.
I say
Yeah.
those words back
Yep.
to you. You're slow, you're lazy, and then you be like, well, it ain't gonna work anyway, or you know what? Or then you start thinking, what are they gonna say?
Mm.
When I do this. And so those were, and that's so important. Our children, we have to teach our children that, and speak words to our children, and tell our children not to let the words and opinions of others
Yeah.
control
That's right.
their life. Yeah,
That's
and that's
good.
awesome.
Mm.
But now you say a father's words are important to his children because you have girls. How important are they, especially to girls?
Way important, man. And it's funny because the older that they're getting now, um, I mean, it's like I always knew it was important, but I'm really, really knowing how important
Mhm.
it is now. You know what I'm saying? When they were coming up, I was intentional on it. But now, man, it's like, wow, I don't stop. I can't stop. I gotta keep speaking positive, in their life. I can't just say, okay, well, they're adults now and they got it. No, I still gotta affirm them. I still have to, let them know their value and things like that. And it's still even more important now as it was when they were 9, 10 years old, man. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's just important. And to have girls, and don't get me wrong, I mean, we have great girls. I mean, great girls. We didn't have, and that's not to say we didn't have problems, but we didn't have a lot of problems that other folks may have had.
Mhm.
And that's just a blessing. And I just think it's a cumulative thing. It's a lot of stuff that make that a fact. But even now, I'm more intentional of our conversations because I know the value of words more now than I did when they were coming up. I mean, it's just again, I was young, I was a kid. We were still, we was trying to figure this thing out. I
Mhm.
send them things, just speak to their spirit. You know what I mean? Even if I don't utter it, at least they're reading it. You see what I'm saying? I send them things that I feel that's going to be valuable for them because maybe they won't get it. Maybe they won't come across it, or I read something and I see them in it and I share it with them. It's constantly parenting, man. Just constantly
Mhm.
parenting.
That's
And some
all.
may say we go overboard. When they grown, you ain't supposed to do that. Well, maybe, but it ain't hurting. So how about keep pushing? Because it's not hurting them. I know that. So
But you have to keep pushing. You have to, just because your kids become adults, don't mean you stop speaking into their life,
right,
because that's going to help. Whether so when you're not there, they're still hearing that, and even that, especially for, well, I'm gonna say for kids in general, because when they get older, when Caleb becomes an adult,
hmm,
then there are adult issues or adult things in life that he's gonna need wisdom on, that I
yeah,
can provide to him. Your daughters, they're adults, they're young adults, they're adults. So there are adult things in life that we've been through that you can still see
yeah,
with them, and that you can still, that you may have to be reactive and not proactive. You see
hmm,
something coming down the pipe, you like, you know what, sweetheart, hey, daddy, this is how I would handle this, or blah, talk to
yeah,
them and things like that. And so, but you never stop. So anybody who
hmm,
said that, they,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. We ain't worried about that. I don't. I can shut people off real well, so that ain't
there
that
you
ain't
go.
an
I
issue.
remember, what Bishop Moore used to say: "Eat the meat, spit out the bones."
Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
I do. I do that. Everybody know. My wife know I do that all the time. People be talking to me, and I'm taking in the meat, spitting
yeah,
out the bones. If you saying
yeah,
something stupid out the way, it's out,
yeah.
it's out to eat, because I don't have time for it. But yeah, that's, so we have to learn what we're speaking to our kids. We have to speak the right things. We have to speak into them what we want to see come out of them.
And it
So,
comes back. It definitely comes back. I mean, my daughter, my youngest. So I always taught both of them. All right, you can do anything you want to do, but you gotta have a plan, right? So they
mhm,
know that if there's anything that they want to do, they got to bring it to me in a form of a plan. I mean, I need to see, exactly how you're going to execute this thing. And my
mhm,
youngest was going through some things a few weeks ago, and she said, well, she wanted to, to talk to me or whatever. That's okay. And then she was telling me what it was. She said, and I already got the plan, so so she's already put it out there. I already got the plan, this is what it is. And sure enough, we started looking at things and she was able to line up exactly what she wanted to do and all. And so that's the value of the words again. That's the value of the teaching. That's the
mhm.
value of, depositing certain things in them. They don't forget, man. They don't forget. And that goes both ways, positive and negative. So
Awesome, man. So let me ask you, what's the best piece of advice you've received from your dad?
oh wow. I mean, so much, man. I mean, well, my dad. You always gonna get something. So,
Right.
but Best piece of advice.
that shaped your life. Give me a piece of advice he gave that shaped your life.
I would say the main thing that comes to my mind right now is that, whatever you do, just, do what's right.
Mm-hmm.
Do what's right. Because right is going to follow you. You know what I'm saying? And that, I think, shaped me because it makes me think when I do things, to make sure that it's in line with what I should be doing. Because integrity, your character, your reputation, I mean, that thing that can be taken away in milliseconds,
Mm-hmm.
but to be able to, focus on living a life that you're doing people right, you're doing right by people, all those things, just doing what's right. I think that would be some good advice that he has shared. And there's so much more, but that's what comes to mind. Yeah, that's what comes to
Awesome.
mind.
So I'm gonna go off script a little bit, Shawn. You and I had a conversation about a week ago. We
Mhm.
were talking about you was telling me you working on some goals by 50. When you were talking about your grandson was born, you was like, man, I ain't done
I know,
what
I
you want to
know.
do. But you talked about we said we were going to talk about this tonight. We talked about how your focus, how you focus so much on building, that as a father you fell off. Now I don't want to say fell off, but you missed out on some things, but you successfully built was a father and built a business together. But you felt like you kind of fell off a little bit in the fatherhood area on that, if I'm saying that right. Let's talk about that. There may have be some fathers out here who are trying to build a business and be a successful dad at the same time, but building a business takes time. Even working, someone may be working, to take care of the family, it takes time. How could they? What do you say is a key to building success and building success as a father together?
That was, yeah, that's, I do remember that conversation, and that's a good question. And it kind of jogged my memory to another piece of advice that I'll start off with that my father gave me that really, I think it really resonated with me after you and I had that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But it was that, don't lose the very thing that you're working for.
Mm-hmm.
Is something that he always would tell me, always do tell me. So I would try to put things in priority, kind of make sure that you kept family first, God, church, family, God, family, church rather, and just try to make sure that my priorities were in place. Um, in the context of what you and I was talking about was more now that my daughters are older. I'm like laser focused on building and making sure that I prepare for their kids and their kids,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I was jokingly saying that I ain't done, and now I got this grandkid, so but I think that I fell short with not being there for them as much as I should have been emotionally. I
Gotcha.
was there. I was a provider. I was present. I was in their lives. Basketball games, cheerleading practice, dance recitals, piano this, whatever the case. I was there. But as I look back now that I'm older and they're older, there's a lot of times that I could have been there more emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
to kind of hear them, where their point of view was on certain things, and just kind of be able to shape that a little bit better than what I did. I think I relied and even took for granted, their mom, more on that, because it's like, okay, well, they're girls, so they can, she can handle it, that type of thing.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so if I were to have, well, I won't say if I were, because I have a do over because I'm doing it now. I just have to be now more cognizant of that, and try to make sure that I'm more conscientious of their emotions, and
Mm-hmm.
things, and then be able to, parent or guide, offer advice with that in mind. So that's a big one for me because I know I can see where the mistakes were. You know what I'm saying? I can
Mm,
reflect my mind right back to
mm,
certain instances that I knew I should have done it, but I didn't. You know what I mean? That's hurtful. That's hurtful, especially when you see it causing pain as a
mm.
result of it. You know what I
Got
mean? So, and I just say, man, we ain't never always gonna have it right. But the thing is, I ain't gonna make the same mistake twice.
right.
Even scripture teaches us, as you see the light, walk therein. You know what I'm saying? And you're held accountable for the things that you know. So now that I know, so that's why I have to take more, you know, and be more intentional about doing things like that. So it's good to build.
Yeah,
It's absolutely good to build because you're going to need it. And we're supposed to do that so that we can provide an inheritance for our children and their children, so on and so forth. But we got to find some type of balance.
yeah,
And younger, I was grinding, man. I mean, it's like, just didn't think about it really. But now that I'm older, I'm like, man, all right, well, I got to start now. You know what I mean? I can't
yeah,
give up. I can't just push it under the rug. So yeah, that would be the thing I would say, man. Just to be there every which way that you can. Not just, so a lot of people just give, or a lot of people just buy, a lot of all that stuff. As I'm getting older, I'm learning love languages. I'm studying that. I'm understanding what some of them will need affirmation. Some of them do want gifts. Some of them need this and that. You know what I'm saying? Understand the love language even of your child. Now, I know a lot of times when you hear that, it's talking about a spouse, but everybody got love languages, man. Everybody has it. So once we learn it, then we work on it.
yeah. I was doing that. I had to learn that as well. Um, and I think for me, the good thing that came out of me being a father at an older age is because I got to see that and I experienced it and I know what I want, what I didn't want, and I wanted my son to have what I didn't want. So I had to learn. And there are times where I would take my son to taekwondo or swimming, and I'm sitting there on my
Hmm.
iPad, sitting on my
Yeah,
iPad, looking at my iPad or looking at my phone, and I just hear God say, "Pay attention to your son." And then I just look up, and then at the time I look up, I see him looking at me, and I'm like, and it was because a lot of times he'll ask me, "Daddy, did I do good? Dad, are you proud of me?" He showed me
mm,
his work, Dad. And so I realized that I'm sitting there. So now when I go to Taekwondo, it's a glass right there. If I have to step out and go on the phone, I stand the glass. So if he look up, he sees
yeah,
me right there and sees that I'm engaged and that I'm watching him, and I make it a priority. And you did great. I'm looking at your girls, I'm looking at your family, and even though you were grinding, you say you missed some moments and you got it wrong sometimes, but look at your family though. Look at the result. You're caring for your family, your girls that went without, and you still a great father. You still raise great girls. And so sometimes some people just don't catch it. Like I say, you were still at the game, so you were still there, you were still present. Some guys, they're working so hard, they're not even present at those things. And they're doing what you said it's not just about, they're just buying
hmm
things. When their kids just want your attention, they just want some time. And I'm learning that with my son. I had learned to set boundaries with my son. Because my wife would tell
hmm
you, he'd be like, "Daddy," I'm like, "What? What? Daddy, can we? Yeah, yeah, we can play. Yeah, you can." No matter what I had to do, but I had to learn to set boundaries because I had to learn that all he wanted was my time. So if I give Caleb 30 minutes, he's happy.
You good? Yeah,
All I can give him,
yeah.
he is good with 30 minutes. So
It doesn't
guys,
take much.
it
Yeah,
doesn't take much.
just
And that's all they
consistency.
want. Consistency. Yep. Like guys out there, if you're watching, if you're not
Yeah,
with your child's mother, if you're not married, all your child wants consistency. Just go see them. If it's one day a week, you can give them that one day a week, but give them all of you in that one day a week. And
yeah,
trust me, they'll be blessed. And I mean, Shawn is a magnificent father. I've watched him. I watched his girls. I see what he's done. And it's just, but he can tell you, you got to be there, and you got to build. You can be there and build at the same time. And he's
yeah.
a prime example of you can build a business and be a successful father at the same time. So, Shawn, at this point in the show, what I like to do is I like to give you an opportunity to impart to the fathers out there, however you want to do it. If you want to pray over them, you want to speak into them, prophesy, um, give them a word of advice. Just take about 60 seconds, man, and just impart something into the fathers out there.
Well, first of all, thank you. We appreciate the opportunity and definitely this podcast. I'll just say it simply this way: that the Bible teaches us to train up a child in the way that they should go, so that when they are old, they won't depart. It is our responsibility as fathers to lead and to guide them, to live by example. We're not all the time going to get it right. Sometimes we're going to have to be transparent, but the scripture teaches us that in all thy ways, acknowledge him. Him is God, and he, God, will direct our paths. If we do that and stick with that formula, we cannot go wrong. We just can't go wrong. This world is just full of so many different disappointments and hurts and discouragement and all, but we are the lighthouse, if you will, for our children. We are a lot of times the only positive thing that they'll probably ever even encounter. So we want to make sure that we train them up in the way that they should go. We want to make sure that we acknowledge God and how that we do that, and we cannot go wrong. So that's the information that I would like to leave and share with you on today. God bless each one of you.
Amen. Thanks, man. So, guys, if you want to follow Shawn, you can go to all his social media handles is at SMN Square. Oh, we might get tongue tied. SMN Square on
Yeah,
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and you can go to his website at smnsquare.com. He kept it simple.
keep it
Everything's saying
simple.
SMN Square.
Yeah,
Dot
yeah,
com. It's a
yeah.
tongue twister.
My initials. That's all. Shawn Maurice Nicholson. Yeah, the square is duplication. So there you go.
And also, Shawn, you have a book out, right?
Two actually now. Yeah, yeah.
So tell them about your books real quick.
All right, so we our first book that we authored is called Pass I On. It's a play on the word passion. It's a trademark that I own. But Pass I On, the 7 building blocks to success and sustainability. And the newest book that we launched this first of the year is called Teach Me How to Pivot. So that's
Mm.
pivot as an acronym: planning, innovation, vision outweigh threats. And you can buy it anywhere where books are sold: Amazon, Apple, Google Play Store, Barnes and Noble, Goodreads, wherever. That's where it is. So thank you so much.
Awesome, awesome, guys. Just go there, get his books. Go to Amazon, grab those books. If you didn't get it, you can go to the replay, watch this
Mhm.
again, listen to it again on iTunes, and get the replay. Get Shawn. But with Shawn, man, thank you for coming on tonight. It was
Thank
awesome, man.
you.
I really
Appreciate you.
appreciate it. So,
Keep up the
guys,
great work.
thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for the support.
Absolutely.
So, guys, all of you that are watching, we appreciate you tonight. Again, go to Shawn's website, smnsquare.com. Follow him on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at SMN Square. Just follow him, guys. He got some great content. He's a leader, he's a workshop facilitator. You can reach out for him for your needs, ministry building, business building, and things like that. But, guys, thank you for joining me tonight. We really appreciate it. If you like this, I need you to share it. I need you to share it with those who you feel needs to hear it. Share this podcast. Go to our iTunes page. Subscribe to our iTunes page. Share that. Um, Rate us on iTunes too. We strive for 5. I need 5 stars. All right, iTunes, give me 5. Give me 5. Go to iTunes, like the podcast, listen to it. Go to YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube page, share that as well. Let us know what you think, guys. If you have any questions, if you want to ask us anything, if you want to let us know how you like the show, email us at hello@kingdomrelationships.org, and I will take your questions. If you need advice for anything, just email us and we'll let you know. If I can't answer it for you, I will connect you to one of the awesome dads that I've had on this show that can help you with the answers that you need. Just email us at hello@kingdomrelationships.org. Follow us at K Relationships on Instagram, King Relationships on Facebook. We're posting all the time. Guys, I love you. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, be victorious.